You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. It is 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern time to dive on into the crypto derivatives market. Yep, it is time for the Crypto Rundown. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. We're the only one. Check it out over there. A lot of great data analysis. Of course, links to great shows over there on the website. And, of course, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. That link also available there. Will unleash the beast, open the doors to the secret club for you folks. 200-plus hours of goodness there. A lot of great crypto analysis on those pro Q&As as well. So if you're intrigued by such things, we're giving away the July Pro Trading Crate this week. So should be a fun time. Get your name in the hat for all of our future giveaways, live streams, all sorts of goodness. theoptionsinsider.com/pro, the place to go. Going to do a little bit of something different on the show this week. Going to actually split the show into two parts. Today, just the facts, man. I'm going to nail down all of the data, the analytics, what's cooking out there from a vol and a trading and trending perspective. And then tomorrow, I'll be joined in the Crypto Hot Seat, a special extra edition of the Crypto Hot Seat for you folks, by my old buddy, Mr. Boris Ilyeski, now holding down the fort over there at Coinbase US Derivatives. Going to get the Coinbase viewpoint on all things derivative. Should be intriguing, so look forward to that. But today, just the facts, man. Let's kick it off with the Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down all the action in the world's leading digital asset. Yep, we're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin, which is looking pretty much the same as it was this time last week. Not much bigger, not much smaller. Really kind of just Goldilocks right there in between, unless you count a whopping 120 handles, a big move, because we are at 29,064 when we kicked off the show today. We were at 29,184 when we wrapped things up on the show last week. 120 points to the downside is a bit of a rounding error in the world of Bitcoin, listeners. And outside of that, we really didn't have much more of a range. And what range we did have was all the day after our show last week, all Tuesday. That's when we did all of our living in Bitcoin. Pretty much 1,000 handle range on the day. The high was 29,846, and the low came in that morning 28,809. So a little over 1,000 handles intraday. And then the rest of the week kind of just treading water like we are right now, which is reflected out there in the vol. By the way, you want to see this vol number and everything else we're going to talk about on the show today for yourselves. Only one place to go. Amberdata.io, AMBERDATA.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. If you did that, you would see that the vol kind of treading water this week as well. 30-day vol, 32.5 on the show last week. Take a wild guess what it is on the show this week. If you said 32.5 again, you are the winner chicken dinner for this week, listener. Yes, literally unched on the 1 month vol out there. Again, it's August. You kind of have to expect some of this stuff. Let's go out a little bit farther, see if we see any evolution a little bit farther down the chain. And the answer is slightly. We saw about 2 points come off the top. It was 43 3/4, the 6 month vol on the show last week. Coming into the show today, 41 3/4. So taking 2 points right off the top. Let's get into the skew, see if we see any evolution there. We probably saw more swings last Tuesday, and since then it has pretty much settled out. Even though looking at the weekly skew, we've seen a little bit of evolution there. It was pretty much flat on the show last week. I think slightly biased to the upside, about 1/4 of a point. Today, about 1.66 biased to the upside. So a little bit of a point premium there over the week. So some folks looking a little bit biased to the upside this week. We'll see how long that holds out. If we go a little bit farther out, we go out 1 month. On the show last week, the skew was literally flat. There was no premium in either direction. And coming into the show this week, that has changed a little bit. We're seeing a 1 point premium sneaking into the call. So again, that's not much to read into. That's effectively still flat, but still interesting. A little bit of an evolution out there. If we go a little bit farther down the skew curve, let's go out to, let's say, 180 days, see what's cooking out there. We saw there was a positive bias there. That's much stronger. 2.5 points premium to the upside versus this week, 3.25 points. So getting a little bit more juice to the upside the farther out we go on that term structure. Also worth noting, we're getting a little bit more OI rebuilding after July rolled off the board with our show last week. You know, whenever there's an expiration, it takes a lot of paper with it over there on Deribit. They are rebuilding that now. 189,000 calls open on Deribit right now. It's up about 16,000. So not a ton, but nothing to sneeze at either. Put side, 82,000, up about 8,000. So a little bit over 2-to-1 calls over puts out there on Deribit, which is historically around the level it's hung out at pretty much since we've launched this show. Let's go out to the top 10 listeners and see what's cooking out there on the OI front. And let's see, number 5 in terms of movers and shakers this week in the OI scene, the 31,000 strike. Those calls taking the number 5 spot this week. They gained 2,300 contracts. Followed by number 4, getting a little bit farther out of the money. 31,000 not doing it for you. How about the 35,000 calls coming in at number 4? They gained 2,700 contracts this week. Followed by number 3, we got one put slotting in there this week. It comes in at number 3. It's the 28,000 strike puts. They gained, appropriately enough, 2,800 contracts. Number 2, the 32,000 strike calls. So back to the upside, they gained 3,100 contracts. And the biggest OI mover and shaker this week, the 30,000 strike calls. They gained 4,000 contracts. Again, not huge evolutions out there, and it makes a lot of sense given the fact that we kind of vacillated around this level for most of the week. We threatened 30K, then kind of retreated away from it last week, and that was kind of about it. So it makes sense that the psychologically significant level of 30,000 would dominate the tape out there. Let's get out to Bitto, see what's cooking out there in Bitto land. That's, of course, the product a lot of you use for your crypto exposure, even though, if you believe our poll from last week, Mara is your go-to when it comes to crypto options exposure. So a little bit of interesting developments out there. Bitto kind of treading water this week. 15.10 when we kicked off the show, down about 0.4 of a point. Not a heck of a lot going on out there, as reflected in the action. The ADV is 33,000. That's down about 2,000 from what it was this time last week. And today, only 13,000 contracts on the tape. And that hasn't really budged, since the start of our show. So not a heck of a lot going on out there. But then again, it is August, so some of that seasonally light volume is to be expected out there. The vol, again, kind of treading water. It was a 38 on the show last week, 38 and a half actually. And coming into the start of the show this week, a 38, so down a whopping half of a point. So not a heck of a lot of evolution out there, even though there was some action on the dividend front. I think you have a question about that. We'll get to that a little bit later out there. Let's get out to the top positions out there. Since there's not a heck of a lot cooking this week, we'll do a quick top 10 in BIDO. Number 10 cost you 16,800 contracts to break into the top 10. That gets you to the AUG 17s, by the way. It's top 10 all calls all the time again in BIDO, not a put to be found. So read into that what you will. Number 9, 19,000 of the June 30s. Number 8, 23,000 of the Jan 20s. Number 7, 24,000 of the Jan 18s. Number 6, 24,000 of the Jan 2025 20s. Number 5, 27,000 of the Jan 15s. Number 4, 40,000 of the Jan 2025 25s. Those were higher. Those have fallen down a bit. Number 3, 58,000 of the Jan 65s, regular Jan. And then the rest all Jan of 2025. You have 62,000 of the Jan 35s, and the number one position in BIDO right now, 81,000 exactly, which is always interesting. Not 81,001 or anything like that. 81,000 exactly of the Jan 2025 30 calls out there in BIDO land as we keep on rolling to explore what's cooking in the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's break down all the action in the altcoin universe. Let's start with our top 10 from a market cap perspective, see if there's been any evolution out there this week. And the answer is kinda. Number 10, we got Tron hanging out there, the number 10 spot again. $6.8 billion. That's what it costs you to break into the top 10 this week to get you to Tron. So a little bit lighter than we've seen out there in the past, but not nothing either. Number 9, we got Solana, $9.3 billion worth of market cap. Number 8, Cardano, $10.1 billion. Number 7 is Doge. So Doge slowly climbing the ranks. It held a death grip on 8 forever. Now hanging out at number 7, $10.3 billion worth of market cap there. Number 6, USD Coin, $26 billion. Number 5, it's XRP, $32.5 billion. Number 4, BNB, it's $37.1 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, $83.8 billion. Number 2, it's ETH. You knew that coming into the show, listeners. $219 billion, and the number one big dog out there, it's Bitcoin, $566 billion worth of market cap. And we said we're treading water in Bitcoin. You can pretty much rinse and repeat that for ETH as well. 1860 is where we were trading at the end of our show last week. 1823 at the start of the show this week, down a whopping 37 handles on the week, which is probably why our 30-day vol was a 31 on the show last week. Take a flying guess what it is this week, listeners. If you said 31, you're starting to pay attention out there, listeners. Yep, literally unched on the week. We go a little bit farther out the curve, down about 6 months. You get a little bit of evolution there. The vol was a 43, so a little bit juicier the farther out you go. That's come in quite a bit now, too. It's down to about a 37.4. So coming in nearly 6 points. That's a big drop in longer-term vol. You don't see that much evolution that frequently out there. Let's go out to the skew. Let's start in the near-dated portion. Let's go out to the weekly skew. That was -3 almost on the show last week, -2 3/4. That has come back up a little bit. It's down to about a -1.2, so still slightly bearish looking ahead this week, but not as aggressively bearish as it was this time last week. 30-day skew, it was a -2 on the show last week, so a lot of folks lean into a little bit of the dark side in ETH last week, and I guess it was merited for the most part. By the way, our range in ETH on the week came on Monday, right before our show, 1804, and the high came the next day on Tuesday of 1873. So 69-point range, not talking a heck of a lot of evolution out there on the week as well. Again, 30-day skew, -2 last week, -1.3 this week, so still mildly bearish, but nothing really to write home about. And then going out a little bit farther, 6 months, the skew last week was literally flat, no bias in either direction. This week it has moved a little bit to the -1.4. Again, not a ton to read into, except for the fact that maybe the weekly skew is not quite as bearish as it was this time last week. Let's go out to the size OI, see what's open out there, listeners. 2.04 million calls, so they're starting to rebuild out there on the ETH options front on Deribit. That's up about 84,000 on the week. The puts, though, gaining more, which is rare. Usually we see the calls leading the dance. The puts gained 111,000 contracts this week. They're up to 653,000. So we are now within that 4-to-1. We're talking more about 3.5-to-1 calls over puts, which is interesting. Anything below 4-to-1, that means puts are exploding. They're blowing up over there in Deribit land. Let's get out to the top 5 out there, listeners, and see what's cooking out there in Deribit this week. Let's see. Number 5, we have the 1900 strike calls. And they gained 28,000 contracts this week. Number 4, we have the 2200 strike calls, so a little bit more optimistic. They gained 36,000 contracts this week. Number 3, we have the 1600 puts, kind of like Bitcoin. Only one put in the top 5 movers and shakers, and it's slotted right in the middle. The 1600 strike put, they gained 43,000 contracts. We're going to threaten the 1600 strike again anytime soon. In ETH, listeners, 43,000 contracts piling into that strike this week. Number 2, the 2100 strike calls. They gained 60,000 contracts. And the big dog out there this week, again, talking very similar to what we're seeing in Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it was the 30,000 strike calls. Here it's the 2,000 strike calls. Number 1, they gained 81,000 contracts. So again, a quiet week. It is August. It's the psychologically important levels that are leading the tape. Not a lot of surprises to be found out there. Let's go mining the rest of the altcoin universe, see if we can find some other surprises for you, listeners. Solana, last show, almost 24, 23.93, giving up about a point out there, coming in to 22.98 at the start of the show today. XRP also giving up some of the ghost, some of the luster from his post-ruling explosion to the upside. It was 70 cents pretty much exactly on the show last week, 62 cents this week, so giving up about 8 cents. Dogecoin, 7.8 cents last week, 7.4 cents this week. So giving up some of its luster, but still enough to keep it in the 7 spot from a market cap perspective. So that's kind of interesting. Litecoin, 92.5 cents last week, 81.62 this week. So they're coming for Litecoin this week, down nearly 11 points. Cardano, 31 cents last week, 28.8 cents this week. So down about a little over 2, about 2.2 cents out there. And then we've got Polkadot, 5.13 last week, 4.97 this week, so down a whopping 16 cents. Not a heck of a lot of evolution there. And Shiba Inu actually bucking the trend. It was 0.000084 last week. This week, 0.000009 even. So gaining just a little bit of juice out there. So all you Shiba Lambo proponents, take note.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Crypto Questions. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, our question today concerns BITO and its ever-controversial dividend. This one comes from Billy. Billy wants to know, is BITO still paying a dividend, and is it worth collecting it? Well, that's 2 questions in one, Billy, but you know what? We'll be nice. We'll let you have both of them out here this week. And the answer to the first part is yes. Second part is, I guess it's up to you. We can't really determine which dividends are worth it for you, but we'll break it down a little bit. Remember, we talked about it on the show recently. We also talked about it on Options Bootcamp, a show that you folks should be checking out if you're listening to this, listeners. I know a lot of you are new to the world of options and derivatives, so a show like Options Bootcamp, where we break all this stuff down for you in a lot more detail, going to serve a lot of you very well out there. But the answer right now is yes. It actually pays a pretty healthy dividend. I was just running the numbers right before showtime. The most recent dividend was declared on August 1st. It's going to be payable on the 8th. And it was 38 cents, 38.5 cents out there. So not an insignificant dividend. If you go back to the July dividend, it has effectively been a monthly dividend for most of this year. The July dividend, 66 cents. The June dividend, 42.7 cents. The May dividend, 41.7 cents. April, 46 cents. March, 10 cents. February, about 15 cents. You can see a big change there. Why does BITO even pay a dividend? A lot of you probably want to know. We've covered this again on some of the other episodes. It's a question we get a lot. The answer has to do with the structure of this product and the entity that holds it. Remember, they're rolling futures out there. They're rolling the futures on CME, the big Bitcoin futures. So at the end of the day, if Bitcoin's going up, they roll them, they buy them cheaper, longer term, they sell them when they're more expensive. They're actually making a profit on those futures holdings, which the entity that owns BITO cannot maintain a profit, can't keep a profit. So it has to distribute it to its shareholders, hence this dividend. And the dividend has been pretty substantial. So far, the dividend has been $4.62. That's a dividend yield of 30.8%. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've seen a decent rally in crypto beyond Q2 of this year. As you can see earlier in Q1, that dividend, not so much. Crypto is kind of treading water then, Bitcoin in particular, obviously. As we saw the rally start to kick in later in Q1 into Q2, we saw those dividends jump from about a dime to 46 cents. Last month was really good, 66 cents. So even 38 cents is pretty decent. So it depends on what's going on over there over the previous month with those futures, how much of a profit they are banking. Some months there may be no profit. So it's not a reliable dividend in that sense. But if you have held BITO this year, you collected $4.62 on an asset that is trading around $15 and change right now. So that's a fairly healthy dividend. You can't really look askance at that. 30.8% dividend yield. That is nothing to sneeze at. But then again, it's not reliable. It's not like you're holding shares of XYZ company and they declare they're going to pay you whatever percent dividend per quarter or per year that you can usually rely on. This dividend, not reliable, very much subject to the whims of the market. But if that sounds attractive to you, again, just for holding BITO, they're paying you roughly 30% over the course of the past year. Again, not reliable. You can't look to the future, say I'm going to collect 30% every year. But that's a pretty robust dividend. In fact, I was playing around with some trades to try to harvest that dividend out there. Maybe we'll get into that more on Bootcamp this week as we explore it. But it's an intriguing one. There are some ways you can obviously go about it. You can obviously have to own the underlying to collect that dividend. So some ways you can go about it. You can sell calls against it, other things like that. We'll explore a little bit maybe on Options Bootcamp this week. But it is a fairly healthy dividend. It's not reliable, but an intriguing one and perhaps worth playing around with, especially for an underlying where the vol is kind of low. So just harvesting premium in and of itself is not that rewarding. You need a little bit of extra kick. And in this case, BITO, it's delivering, at least for right now. All right, that's going to do it for that Just the Facts, ma'am, edition of the old Crypto Rundown. Remember, we're not done yet because we like you folks. Coming back tomorrow with a special edition of the Crypto Hot Seat. Going to roll it out for the folks over there at Coinbase. Should be some fascinating stuff, so stay tuned for that. If you're on the pro side, of course, you can hear it live. If you're listening on demand, as we know a lot of you are, then stay tuned to the Crypto Rundown feed. It'll be available for you there tomorrow as well, because we love you folks out there. And then, of course, back with our other array of content throughout the rest of the week, a pro Q&A for all of our pro folks tomorrow with the Oracle of New Hampshire, Mr. Matt from ORATS, who has talked about crypto a lot in the past there as well. So you have crypto questions, he's a good one to ask. Again, if you want to hear that live, you want to hear the pro Q&A, only one place to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Then back with our usual array of content, including some BITO-focused content on Options Bootcamp this week on Wednesday, and then the rest of our content throughout the rest of the week until we're back again next Monday, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.